Suicides are 20 to 60% more likely to happen this time of year. Specifically during the months of March and June, spring. Because, so the idea goes, if you live in a country like mine, the UK, where during the winter months it's very dull, it's grey and it's murky outside, and so too you're in that state of low motivation, low mood and depression, and you start to conjure up a plan of, in order to escape these emotions, you can take your own life. The harsh reality is you don't have the activation energy to go out and enact your plan. But as soon as the sun starts shining, you start to get that activation energy to go out and sadly take your own life. So I'm creating this video for no other reason than to raise awareness as to this high alert time that we're all in. Not only for other people who are struggling in your life, who, you know, maybe you don't know they're struggling, but most importantly, for yourself. If you're struggling right now, and if you feel invisible, you feel like your back is up against the wall and you've got no one or nowhere to turn to, and you've been thinking about enacting your plan. But the truth is, I have been thinking about making this video over the last 2 days because, of course, the sun is now starting to shine in the UK, and I thought there must be a lot of people now who are coming out of a hard winter and they have seen the sun is starting to shine, but instead of feeling happy about it, they've started to put a big expectation on themselves of, I shouldn't be feeling this way anymore, the sun is shining, I should be happy. But sorry, what I wanted to say is, so I've been thinking about making the video for that reason, but I feel very nervous to make this video right now, and I feel very heavy because it's an uncomfortable topic. I feel uncomfortable talking about it, which means I'm going to talk about it. But the main reason why I feel nervous to make this video is because if you're in this state right now where you are thinking about taking your own life, I don't know what you want me to say. And I don't know what would be best for me to tell you. I've got some things that I'm going to tell you, but I really want to understand that it's not as simple as me just recording a video and giving you a few pieces of unsolicited advice. When I was 17, I was in a really bad state. I was very depressed. I was very anxious a lot of the time, and I was very isolated. And I knew deep down I was never really going to do it, but I did think about suicide a few times. And I remember there was this one time where I was sat in my garden. It was after school or something, and it was pitch black outside. It was still the winter, and I just had enough. I was fed up, and I called one of my friends at the time, my best friend. He was called Mahmood, and I always spoke openly to him about things because he was feeling the same way a lot of the time. I guess that's called trauma bonding. And I called him and I was crying my eyes out, and I just said, Mahmood, I can't do it anymore. I don't want to feel how I'm feeling anymore. I just want all the feelings to stop. And he said, Lewis, get up and do a weird dance. So I did. I got up and I did the weirdest dance ever while still crying and laughing at the same time, and he broke through the haze that was clouding me with a phone call. And I would love to be able to call you right now, but the truth is I can't. So me making this video is the next best thing. Now, in the anticipation to making this video, I've been trying to get myself into this, probably for good or for worse, I've been trying to get myself into that state of consciousness of someone who potentially wants to take their own life. And I've been doing that by reflecting on some people I knew who took their own life. When I was in school, when I was about 15 to 16 years old, there was a girl who I knew in school called Yasmina. And she was such a lovely girl. I never spoke to her too much, but she was the cutest, the most beautiful girl in the school, well, one of them, and she never spoke too much. She always kept herself to herself. But I remember one day, 2 or 3 years later, when I was about 19 years old, I was living in Poland at the time, and I hadn't called my mum in quite a while, so I was about to call her, but I saw an incoming call from my mum. So I picked up the phone and I was like, "Oh, how are you?" We had a bit of small talk back and forth. And after the small talk died down, my mum said, do you know a girl called Yasmina Howard? And as soon as my mum asked me that, my heart sank, because I knew exactly what she was going to say next. She told me that a few days prior, Yasmina had taken her own life by jumping off of a bridge. But the thing is, I was never too close with Yasmina. I never spoke to her too often. Kind of one of those other students in school you see and you smile at sometimes, but I'll never forget, there was this one time where me and all of my friends, we were sat by our table at lunch, and her group of friends came over, and she was always very, very reserved and kind of nervous, but in a cute way. And my friend Mahmood got along well with her, and he was like, "Oh, Yasmina, how are you doing?" And she came over with her group of friends, and she just kind of stood there, and she didn't really know what to do with herself, so she just kind of smiled at Mahmood, and she looked at me, and she gave me the biggest smile I've ever seen in my life. And I'll never forget that image in my head. Even though I wasn't that close with her, it still hurt. And I've been trying to understand, okay, she was 18 at the time. What did she want when she took her own life? And also, there was one other suicide in my family where my granddad's mum, in the 1940s in the East End, she was 27. My granddad never knew, well, he knew her, but he was only 3 years old, I think, when his mum committed suicide, his real mum. She drank disinfectant and jumped off a bridge. And my granddad never spoke about it. I never spoke to my granddad about it. I spoke to my nan about it because she knew, obviously, after my granddad died. Like I said, it was a bit of a taboo subject in the family, but I've been trying to understand, when someone wants to take their own life, what do they hope to achieve by it? And I've realised it's relief. You want the world to stop for a little bit. You want your mind to turn off, and you want to go, "Oh, thank God I don't have to deal with that anymore." That reminds me, my mum's boyfriend, who they're no longer together anymore, but I remember speaking to him about 5 years ago, or a bit older than that actually, probably when I was about 15, 16. I was speaking to him about one of his best friends when he was younger. Sorry, I'm just going off on random stories now, but... And he told me that one of his best friends died from heroin overdose. And I asked him, with my 15-year-old curious mind, did he ever tell you what it was like to take heroin? And my mum's partner, who's called Kevin, he said his friend told him that taking heroin was like filling yourself up, or filling a room full of cotton wool, warm cotton wool, and going into the middle of that room and just laying in it. And that image has always stuck with me. And the way I describe that image is with the word relief. This is much harder than I thought, and I don't really know where I'm going with this. The reason why I felt like I didn't really know what you want if you're in this state, or I didn't really know what to say, is because there's a very fine line between what people say to you during a hard period that is useful and what just comes across as unnecessary. So I'm going to try and hit it from a few different angles if you're feeling in this state of contemplating taking your own life. The first thing is something that, a piece of advice I was given by someone who I hold in very high esteem. And it's the more compassionate route. You can always do it tomorrow. You can always do it tomorrow. And then when that tomorrow comes around, you can always do it the next tomorrow. And then when that tomorrow comes around, you can do it the next tomorrow and the next tomorrow and the next tomorrow. And what you're doing with that is you're creating enough space for the potential of something to change. Which gets me into the second point I want to mention. When you're in that state of you feel invisible, you feel like there's no one to turn to, and you feel like there's nothing to turn to do to give yourself that sense of relief that you crave right now, a word synonymous with all of that experience is overwhelm. And you're likely battling with a lot of hard expectations of how you should be feeling right now, how you should be dealing with a certain situation, and how you should be coping. Again, going back to what we opened this video with, the sun is shining, you should be feeling absolutely brilliant by now. That's a lot of things to deal with at the same time. So what you need to do is you need to narrow your focus onto the moment. You need to narrow your focus onto the moment and just consider continuously, what is the next best thing? What is the next thing I need to do? What is the next right thing to do? You need to continuously ask yourself that. Because trying to deal with everything at once is the easiest way to get yourself into a state of overwhelm. And that next thing to do might be the simplest, easiest, or even hardest thing to do that might make you feel incredibly silly for even having to do it. It might be brushing your teeth. It might be having a shower. It might be admitting that you're not doing well. Which brings me into the last point, or the second to last point. There's an extreme power to be felt in admitting that you're not doing well. Because it's like as soon as you admit you're not doing well, you then orient yourself on the map in which you are. Your mental health map. When you admit I'm not doing the best right now, you can then plonk yourself down on that map and see, okay, what can I do now considering I'm not doing the best? And the next thing is you need to start taking care of yourself. And this is where it gets into the tricky part of the video of, this is all easy for me to sit here and say, especially to someone who's considering the only option out at the moment is to not be here. But I'm going to hazard a guess. And I'm going to say you've clicked on this video because there's still a part of you that wants to be here. And despite all of this overwhelm, despite all of this heaviness and this difficulty, be it self-inflicted or not, there's still a part of you that wants to be here. And it's that part of you need to grip onto for dear life. Because it's that part of you that wants you to take care of yourself. And that's what you need to do right now. Because this state of invisibility that you're in, this state of not knowing who to turn to or where to turn to, you need to turn inwards and you need to turn to yourself as your only saving grace. And you need to want to do that. Because if you don't want to do that, then it's only going to get worse. And it's only going to get harder. And you're just going to be another statistic. And I personally, I know you don't really know me, and I don't know about the amount of rapport that we've built between ourselves yet, but I don't want you to be another statistic. So let me leave you with this. If you're recognising that you want to change, and you've admitted that you might be doing, that you're not in the best place right now, here's what I'm going to say. If I had a remote control for your life, this is what I'd do. I'd make sure that you're waking up and you're going to bed at the same time every single day. You got to get your sleep in order. You have to. Because when your sleep is in order, your emotional regulation systems are also going to be in order, and your circadian rhythm is going to be working in favour of you spiralling upwards into better mental health. So apply the 3-2-1 rule. No food 3 hours before bed, no drinking 2 hours before bed, and no screens 1 hour before bed. Give yourself at least 1 hour minimum before bed for you to wind down and for you to allow your thoughts to go wherever they want to. Get a journal. If you have to, write it all down if it's getting too overwhelming, but offload onto the page so you don't bring that with you into your sleep. Have the best night's sleep you can possibly get. If you have to set an alarm because you're going to work at the moment, then stick to the alarm. But aim to get about 8 hours of sleep. That's what I would do first. And wake up at the same time no matter how tired you feel. Second of all, I would make sure you find your anchor. You have to find a physical space in your environment that is an anchor for you in this time of emotional distress. For me, it's a place like this. This is a place called East Malling, which is close to my house, and I come here on my bike if I ever need to just unwind or just let my hair down a little bit. Find your anchor. Find your physical environment that gives you that little bit of relief that you're craving. Second of all, find your antidepressant. These are prescriptions for you. These are your antidepressants. Your antidepressant, for me, my antidepressant is the gym. It's that one that I'm going to go to the gym after I record this video. My God, I've been rambling throughout it, so I need to offload. But my antidepressant, I've got my bike here, it's going to the gym. And it's doing an hour solid. Because I know that if I lift some heavy plates around and I throw some heavy things in the air, that sad voice in my head is no more. So I would make sure that you're doing at least 30 minutes of exercise per day, every single day, without fail. And you're going to the extent of exhaustion. I read a book a few weeks ago called Good Reasons for Bad Feelings, which was all about evolutionary psychiatry. And the evolutionary psychiatrist, Dr. Randolph Nesse, spoke about when he had a patient before she was a woman, and she was dealing with debilitating depression, and she had been over the last few years, and nothing was working. She'd taken every antidepressant under the sun, she'd done every single form of therapy that she could possibly do, and she came to an essay as a form of desperation, as if to say, I've tried everything. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. So after realising that even though he's a psychiatrist and he should be prescribing her antidepressants, Nesse sat with her in his office and said, okay, you willing to do whatever I tell you? And she said, yes, I'm at the point of desperation now. I want to overcome this depression. He said, okay, if you're willing to do whatever I will tell you, then every day, go to the gym, go to a gym, buy a membership for yourself, and every single day for 30 minutes, sit on the bike, the stationary bike, and pedal until exhaustion and fatigue every single day. She did nothing else but that, and within 3 weeks she was in remission from her depression, which means she overcame it. Exercise I know, and again, this is why I felt nervous to make this video, because I knew that I wanted to give some practical things, but that's the last thing you probably want to hear right now. But I'm telling you, this stuff will work. So exercise, 30 minutes a day. Bonus points if you're doing it in a social environment like a gym, where you have the opportunity to be around other people, or if you're going there with other people who also are a little bit experienced in the gym, or just, it doesn't have to be the gym, it could be any form of physical activity, but just do it for 30 minutes a day as your antidepressant. You would take antidepressants if a doctor gave them to you, so take your prescription from your boy, from your brother, from another mother, which is 30 minutes of exercise per day. And then socialising. One conversation per day if you can, with a loved one or someone close to you, or even a stranger, someone where they're looking you in your eyes and giving you the feeling of, I see you right now, I can understand that you're a human being and you're alive, and I'm vibing with you. One conversation per day. And sunlight. As soon as you wake up, get some sunlight into your eyes. Before you go to bed, if you can catch the horizon, the sunset, even better, bonus points. Nutrition as well. Eat colourful foods. Now's not the time to, I know you want to do it to self-soothe, and I know you might want to drink the fizzy drinks and the crisps and the chocolate and all of the junk food that gives you that short-term relief, but this is what's keeping you spiralling down in that vicious cycle. Eat colourful foods, eat whole foods, foods that existed 150 years ago. If it didn't exist 150 years ago, don't eat it. That's what I would say. And drink plenty of water as well. Listen, that's what I would do if I had a remote control for you, which is easier said than done. But now's the time to start taking care of yourself if you admit that you want to change. This is the most rambled video I've ever made. I thought it was going to be about 6 or 10 minutes long. I have no idea how long it's been, but listen, this community that we've built on YouTube, this channel, is a brilliant community. People respond to each other all of the time. If you're really struggling right now and this is a last ditch attempt to reach out and you're in that desperation stage, go down into the comments, explain how you're feeling, explain what's eating you up at the moment, and explain how or what type of help you would want, or just vent and get it off your chest. And if you want people to comment back, then we will, and we'll see it. And we can band together in the comments if you're really struggling right now. But I'm going to end this video here. I'm going to go and do my antidepressant, which is going to the gym. Feel free to join me right now. Just do the next right thing. That's all you got to do right now. And be on alert for yourself and for other people right now. I see you. There's a lot of other people who see you right now as well. And me personally, I would like for you to continue living. Because there's a lot more in store for you. And there's a lot of people who would do anything to have you in their life. And there's a lot of people who already would do anything to keep you in their life. We'll leave it there. Take care of yourself. That's your prescription from me.